We love featuring artists you should know about on the show, and today we're heading to California to chat with singer-songwriter Rick Lovett. Rick grew up writing music with his brother. He took a break to raise the family, started a bluegrass band called the Highgrass Rollers in San Diego. Now he writes and records as an independent artist. In the past year, he's released 17 songs, his latest called Dreaming About You. We're stoked to have Rick on the show. First, Rick, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me on. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, you grew up in Detroit. You were playing baseball, but one of your brothers was at home writing music. Tell us this story, Rick.
Yes, well, I'm number 10 of 10 kids growing up in urban area of Detroit. So when I was a kid, I liked to play baseball. In the summertime, we'd go out and play baseball all day long in the park. It was a school park across the street from my house. But my brother, who was 2 years older than me, he never really liked sports much. He was always laying around writing things. It didn't matter. A piece of paper from a Polk bag was sitting there. He'd write something on it. And this went on for years. And so finally, when I got to be about 16 or 17, he sang me one of them songs, and I thought, this guy's really good at this. But he wasn't really that great on guitar. He could chord, but he couldn't put he couldn't string together the grooves that should have went with his song. So I said, what if I start helping you? And so I had a little guitar I paid $5 for. So I started helping him write songs. And we wrote a bunch of songs together in the early 70s. And after I started living with him, after love broke up, I had a love breakdown, and I wound up living with him. And that's when we started writing a lot of songs together in the early 70s.
Wow.
And he never wound up playing baseball, and neither did I when I got older. And my whole family is musical type people. We were poor people, so music is one of those things where it's like humor. If you're poor and having a hard time, somebody tells a joke, you feel better. If somebody plays a good song, you feel better too. So music is one of those things that helps out.
Yeah. So you took a break, you get married, you raise the family, you move to San Diego, and then you're shocked to find out, first somebody finds out you play guitar, and they want you to jam with them, and then you start a bluegrass band in San Diego.
Yeah, that's what happened. Before I left Michigan, I felt bad for leaving all my family and stuff. But I came out here, and I told my brother, I said, I'm going to record 10 songs that we've wrote, and I promise I'm going to do it when I get out there. So I came out here, and I was working with a guy named Eric Biggins, and he played banjo. And he comes up, and he says, Rick, he said, you play any bluegrass music? And I never had, but my mother was a bluegrass fan, and I listened to it. And we were always country music fans. So I thought, I can play it. So we started that bluegrass band, and just like being synchronized or blessed, all of a sudden I got this band going in San Diego, and I recorded a disc with them with 14 songs on it, most of them written by me or my brother. And there I am playing in this bluegrass band, and we're popular. We're playing on the beach. We played at Mission Beach, Ocean Beach, Pacific Beach, all around San Diego. And everywhere we went, people loved us.
Oh,
we played a bar called Winston's, and that's in Pacific Beach. And I went in there, and it was our first time we was going to play a really big bar there. And the place was loaded with people. And we started the whole thing off with a song I wrote called the Highgrass Roller Song. And those people just jumped up like it was a calling to them and started dancing. And they really a lot of them didn't really even know what bluegrass music was. And they just loved it. And we were very popular there for about 3 years.
Yeah, well, something different. And bluegrass, it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's making a huge comeback right now, or it's very popular right now. So then you take a break from the bluegrass band after it breaks up. Your song, I Ain't Got the Money, kind of brings you back into music. Tell us this, Rick. I mean, what got you the itch again?
Okay, I Ain't Got the Money. I wrote that song right at the end of the Highgrass Rollers thing, and I thought this is a really good song. And I was going to record it with them and and perform it live, but the band broke up. So I was, after all the work I put in with that band, I walked around neighborhoods and I passed flyers, and I did everything you could think of to get people to come out and see this band. And so I call them bursts in life. I gave it everything I had, and then it fell apart. So then I was disillusioned with music, and I just went on about my business, catching up on my bills and working. And I started painting, and I did a bunch of poor Bob Ross copies. They're not really copies, but I painted a bunch of Bob Ross. And then finally I thought, I'm going to give this music thing one more try, because I found myself singing that song, I Ain't Got the Money. And how that song came about was my brother, who was a great songwriter. I'm not great. I'm just a songwriter, but he was a great one. He said, if you ever get jammed and you can't think of a theme or a story in your song, think of a great song and then either do the opposite of it or answer it. So Hank Williams had a song many years ago called If You Got the Money, I Got the Time. And because I was playing a lot of country and bluegrass music, I'm going around humming that song. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, I ain't got the money, and I ain't got the time. So really, the whole thing was just sort of an answer to the great song by Hank Williams. And so then also, I was performing another song by Jerry Reed, and this one's called Misery Loves Company. And so just because I'm singing that all the time, it's not a copy. I didn't copy him exactly because my song goes faster, but it was just sort of like the Jerry Reed song started off sort of like mine. So it was like two things came together for me and made a great song. I answered Hank Williams, and I didn't copy Jerry Reed, but I was just inspired the way he did that song called Misery Loves Company, because every time I did it in a bar, people just loved that song, and that's a real country song. And so I don't know how it happened. I just started off going, I ain't got the money, and it just went from there. I ain't got the time. So I'm sort of answering Hank there, and it turned out to be a really good song. When I went and recorded it 16 years later, Jeff Forrest, the engineer, he's my friend too, and my musical collaborator. When I recorded it at his studio, and he's been doing this for 35 years, he said, that's the best song we've ever recorded here. Wow. And that really inspired me, because I thought, this song is going to work. And so far, that song has gotten more hits than any other song that I've done. But they're all doing well. Pam told me the other day she gets up faithfully every day and counts my streams that I get. Every day she does it. She said I had 103,000 streams, and that happened in 13 months. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but to me, just I'm a humble person who didn't really expect anything other than my family, and because it's been a long road in music for me.
Oh, yeah.
And nothing much ever come of it, other than having a couple of good bar bands and the songs that I wrote. I always had hope for them because I enjoyed doing it. But that song really got me going, and so in 2023 and a little bit of 2022, I recorded the 16 songs. We did 6 videos. It was crazy. I just kept going with it, and each one of the songs kept doing well. So I'm just as happy as can be.
Yeah, go and check him out. He's at Rick Lovett. If you go check out Rick Lovett Music, he's on Facebook. Go to YouTube, because you can watch the video for I Ain't Got the Money. And his latest single, Dreaming About You, is also out now. Well, you mentioned all the songs. Did you record all of them with Jeff?
Yes, I've recorded all of the songs in California since 2002, since I've lived out here. Everything I've recorded out here is with him. I thought about going to Los Angeles and looking around for some big-time studio, and then I kept thinking about it, and I thought I had a great time with him when I did the High Grass Rollers album many years ago. I'm going to call Jeff up. And he's originally from Michigan, too, and he's been in this business since he's been playing music for 45 years. I won't say how old he is, but he's been engineering and recording records. He's actually a legend in San Diego. He's been doing that in the same spot for 35 years.
Wow.
And he's really super good at it. He's one of them really relatively unknown persons. He's known real well in San Diego. He's so great. He plays drums. He plays bass. I'm a pretty good background singer, but Jeff, because he does it every day, he's very precise to that when we're doing the backing vocals. He tutors me on it, and I've been told that you can't do this in this business by yourself, and that's absolutely true. My wife, Jeff, and all the musicians that have played on these records for me, and there's some really good ones, too. I appreciate all of them, and Rick Lovett would be just out there doing my garden work, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. I like pulling weeds. But that's what I'd be doing if it wasn't for all these people that are working with me and helping me, and then all the good people that's been listening to my songs. I really appreciate all of you out there that have listened to Rick Lovett. You make an old man happy.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, you've been around a long time, Rick. You got Caden Gordon who's helping you out with some of your PR stuff. Because what do you think about all this social media, websites? I mean, it's crazy.
It is crazy, and I'm trying to keep up with it. I just learned meta tagging. I had no idea what that meant. And so Pam and I, or actually Caden Gordon, he's a super nice guy, and he's been helping me out quite a bit too. So we're learning it as we go. And my wife I've been with her for 52 years. She's the greatest person in the world, not just wife, and she just works tirelessly trying to get this. I think that she's actually been the one communicating with you.
Yeah.
So as far as the internet goes, what I love about social media is back in the 70s when I was with the Lovett brothers, we did some recording, and all that ever happened with that is it winds up on your cassette, then it winds up on your desk, and nobody ever hears it. But with the internet, you get to go on there and put your songs out there. And then if the songs are good, the cream will rise to the top, they say. So it's a chance for everybody that's sitting in their front room playing their guitar and writing their songs. You can put your music out there. It gives you a chance. I was on another show the other day, and he said, yeah, but you can't make no money at it. And that's true. There's not a lot of money in it, but I'm actually getting a little bit of money. I'm so surprised that I actually put $79 in the bank the other day. Money from I got it from TuneCore, but $79 doesn't sound like much. But if you're doing something that you really like, singing and playing a guitar, and you're actually getting money for it, and you don't have to load equipment and carry it down to the bar, it's fantastic. So I like the internet because it gives you a chance to get your music out there. Where in the old days, all you would have is your cassette, and that's it. And no radio station would play your songs. But because of the internet, here I am. I've been able to network out of all these people like Caden, and here I am talking to you, Jeff. This is great, man.
Exactly.
And tell all your listeners out there, thanks a lot for listening in to Jeff talking to Rick Lovett.
Exactly. And go and check Rick out. He's at Rick Lovett Music. He's on Facebook. His latest single, Dreaming About You, is out now. We played Guitar Song earlier. This is a cool song. What's the inspiration behind this song, Rick?
I'm glad you asked, Jeff, because that's a very interesting song. A long, long time ago when I was with the Lovett brothers, which was me and my two brothers and many other guys, my cousin, his name was Paul Phipps, he came in and started playing with us. And I was raised in Detroit, and we grew up in a rough neighborhood, and in certain places you can meet some bad people. So Paul called me up one night. He was in a bar where some particularly bad people hung out, and he goes, why don't you come on down here and play with Toby and the boys, Ricky? I said, nah, I don't want to, because I kind of knew the element that was going to be in there. He said, come on, Ricky, you can play on Friday and Saturday night and sing them old songs. So I was in San Diego many years later, and Paul eventually wound up getting himself killed. He took a stranger home from a bar. They got into a fight, and Paul wound up getting hit in the neck with an axe.
Oh.
So he died violently. So I'm driving to band practice one day in San Diego, and there was a guy that hit a tree, and he was laying out there, well, dead. He was covered by a yellow plastic bag, and it was windy, so it was flopping in the wind. So when I seen that violent tragedy, I immediately thought of Paul. And when I thought of Paul, I remembered him saying, come on down, Ricky, you can play on Friday and Saturday nights. You can sing them old songs. Crazy.
Yeah.
But that's where I thought of the first lines, because I put those two tragedies together. And I wrote that song on the way to band practice in 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I thought, I thought it was a really good song, but it was another one of those songs that the High Grass Rollers never really got to. But that song, I think, is just bare bones rock and roll, and that's what I like about it, the simplicity of it. The guitars are not Stairway to Heaven, and it's not the Allman Brothers Band. The guy that played the guitar on it, his name's Russell Hayden, and then there was Russell Hayden played guitar on it, and Trevor C. Edwards. And they played the basic rock and roll guitar on it, and I really like that song.
Huh,
and that, it's sort of a macabre story behind it that doesn't sound like it has anything to do with it, but there it was. That's what made those words come in my mind when I thought of Paul.
Wow, the inspiration behind it. And then Dreaming About You, the new one, is this about Pam, or what's with this one?
Yeah, that was about Pam. When I met her, I met her at Kmart way back in the early 70s. We call each other the Blue Light Special. But when she actually she was out there she was out there collecting money for ALSAC, which is for the hospital in Tennessee. And so I started helping her out. And she wasn't doing very well. And we were both real young. I was 18 and she was 16, and I had a motorcycle. And she had a friend, another friend. And so I asked her if I could give her a ride home. She tells me now she wouldn't have let me if I didn't have a motorcycle, because she could jump off if she thought she was in trouble. So when I went home with her, we were out in the front yard of where she lived in Dearborn Heights, Michigan, and I asked her if I could kiss her. And she said, yeah, you can kiss me. And so when I kissed her, it was such a great kiss, I kind of stumbled back a little bit and said, can I do that again? And she said yes. So then the next day, I spent most of the day dreaming about her and thinking about it. And so that was a very easy one to write, thinking about Pam. And you're right, yeah, that song's about my lovely wife.
Wow. Well, you are in La Quinta, California now, which is outside of Palm Springs. How's California? How are things going there?
Well, you hear about so many people that came out here and made their fortunes, and I didn't know that was going to happen to me. I'm a retired registered nurse, and I wasn't making much money in Michigan. I moved out of Detroit to raise my kids on a farm, and so I was making $15 an hour, working the midnight shift at a Delphi auto plant. And I came out here with my kid. I had a wayward kid who wanted to come to California. I gave her a little money. She came out. I had to come and pluck her off the beach and bring her back home to the farm. Then she was just adamant about coming back out here. So I said, I'm going to bring you out here, and I did. And I said, if you didn't get a job, I'll help you, but you got to get a job. And she did. And while I was here, I was at Mission Bay Park in San Diego, and I thought, this is so beautiful. I think I might like to stay here. So I checked in on a job, and they offered me the job, making twice as much as I was making. So I went back home and talked to Pam about it, and here we are. And I managed to make enough money out here being a nurse, and my wife is a nurse, that I finally economically got ahead a little bit. So California worked for me. There's so many people out here that are different. Everything you need is in California.
Yeah.
There's so many different kinds of people. There's 60s rockers. There's hippies. Everything is here. You can find it. And so everything has worked out for me. I couldn't afford a house at first. Then when the crash hit, I was able to finally buy myself a house. And then property values went back up, and here I am. I'm doing okay in California. And when I left Michigan, after working 2 jobs and my wife working, I was kind of even. I wasn't ahead. I didn't have anything saved up for the future. But now, California worked for me.
That's awesome.
And there's so many different kinds of people out here and so many things going on. It's a beautiful state. But I have to say, I still love Michigan. In my heart, I'm still a Michigander. I love Michigan. We got a little place there, and we go there every year. And I just love I love Michigan more because I'm from there.
Yeah.
It's a great state, too.
Yeah. Well, go and check him out, Rick Lovett. He's at Rick Lovett Music on Facebook. Go to YouTube, check out all of his stuff. And here is his latest song, Dreaming About You. Rick, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate it. You made my day. You got a great show, man.
Well, thank you. It's Rick Lovett. It's KIX 96.5.